Over the next few days, Evan hovered at the edges of my world. Sometimes he asked about my studies, about Westford, about life since we'd last met. But other times, I caught him watching me curious, cautious, as though trying to piece together a puzzle that didn't quite fit. Lena noticed too. "You need to be careful with him," she warned one evening as we walked back to the hotel. "He knows too much. And he's not like Mark, you can't threaten him into silence." "I don't think he's out to hurt me," I said weakly. "But I can't tell what he wants." Her frown deepened. "That's exactly what worries me." That night, Evan cornered me in the hotel lobby, away from the noise of our classmates. "Rachel," he said softly, his voice carrying none of Mark's cruelty, none of the suspicion I had feared. "Look, I just want you to know. I'm not here to expose you. I'm not here to judge. You don't owe me explanations." But his eyes softened. "You always hid back then, Ryan. Quiet. Afraid of standing out." And now he gestured vaguely toward me. "I don't know if it's a costume or something else. But I've never seen you walk taller than you do right now." His words hit me harder than I expected. I managed a shaky "thank you." But part of me still wasn't ready to trust. Later that night, in our shared hotel room, Lena was quiet. Too quiet. Finally, as I was brushing my hair in front of the mirror, she spoke. "Do you believe him?" I met her reflection. "I don't know. But I think he means it." Her lips pressed into a thin line. Then she crossed the room, standing behind me, her hands lightly adjusting the bow at my collar, a gesture she had done 100 times before. But this time, her fingers lingered. "You don't realize what you've become, do you?" she whispered. "You're not just surviving this anymore, Rachel. You're shining in it." And her voice broke off, softer now. "I didn't plan to feel this way, but I can't help it." My heart stopped. I turned, eyes wide, finding her closer than she had ever dared to be. The air between us felt charged, heavy with something unspoken. "Lena," I breathed, unsure whether I was warning her or begging her not to stop. Her hand still rested lightly at my collar, her eyes burning into mine. The question hung there, unsaid but undeniable. Was she just the instigator of this new life, or was she becoming part of it? The Boston trip was supposed to be about research. Old manuscripts, dusty archives, late-night study sessions. But instead, it became something else entirely, a battlefield of truths I wasn't ready to face. Evan didn't press me again, but he didn't back away either. He hovered just close enough to remind me he was there, watching, listening, choosing his moment. At times, his presence was comforting. When I stumbled over a scholar's question during a dinner, he jumped in smoothly to steer the conversation away. But other times, his lingering glances unsettled me. He was the ghost of Ryan's world, standing side by side with Rachel's fragile new one. And I couldn't tell if he would protect me or break me. Meanwhile, Lena's distance had vanished. Back in the hotel room, she stayed close, closer than ever. She brushed a stray hair from my face before lectures. She straightened my bow with gentle fingers that lingered a beat too long. She whispered encouragement when my voice faltered in public. And every gesture carried something unsaid. One night, as I slipped off my shoes, she sat on the edge of the bed, watching me. "You know, Rachel," she said softly, "when I first filled out those forms, it was a joke. A prank. I thought I'd get a laugh, maybe embarrass you a little." Her eyes glistened with something deeper. "But then I saw you become this. And I realized it wasn't a joke. It was the spark you didn't know you needed. And now," she exhaled. "Now, I don't know if I can imagine you any other way." My heart thundered in my chest. I wanted to answer, but words refused to come. The next day, Evan caught me alone between lectures. "You've changed," he said quietly. "But for the better." I meant what I said, Rachel. "You don't have to be afraid of me." The way he spoke my name so naturally, without hesitation, made my chest ache. It was acceptance. Maybe even pride. And yet, when I looked at him, I saw the past. Ryan's past. A reminder of who I used to be and who I could still collapse back into if I wasn't careful. With Lena, it was different. With her, I saw possibility. Danger. Something new. And now, caught between the two of them, I felt like I was standing on a knife's edge. That night, I stood in front of the mirror in the hotel bathroom. The bow, the blouse, the skirt, all the details I once hated now sat perfectly in place, natural as breathing. Behind me, through the crack in the door, I saw Lena watching silently. Her eyes weren't mocking. They weren't even teasing. They were waiting. And for the first time, I realized this wasn't just about choosing between Ryan and Rachel. It was about choosing who Rachel would let into her future. It was only a matter of time before Lena and Evan crossed paths. The final day of the Boston trip, our group gathered in the hotel lobby, luggage piled around us, chatter filling the air. I was standing between them, Lena to my left, Evan to my right, when the silence broke. So, Evan said casually, too casually. His eyes flicked to Lena. "You're the one who helped Rachel get here." Lena's jaw tightened. Helped? I wouldn't call it help. I gave her a chance to see who she really was. Evan's brow furrowed. By tricking her? By throwing her into this without asking. The words stung because they carried a shard of truth. But before I could answer, Lena stepped forward, her voice sharp. And yet, she's happier now than she ever was before. Do you deny that? The air between them crackled. My heart pounded as their voices rose, drawing curious glances from our classmates nearby. Happy? Evan said, his voice laced with disbelief. You've forced her into living a lie. What happens when the world outside this campus doesn't play along? What happens when it all falls apart? Lena's eyes flashed. It's not a lie. It's a truth she never would have found without me. You think you know her because you knew Ryan, but you don't know Rachel. Not yet. Both of them turned to me, demanding silently that I choose a side. My throat tightened. My hands trembled. For weeks I had walked this tightrope, letting Lena guide me, letting Evan remind me of who I used to be. But I couldn't dodge forever. I'm not a project, I said finally, my voice stronger than I felt. I'm not a joke, and I'm not a mistake. Lena didn't force me. She opened a door, and I chose to walk through it. I chose. Their eyes softened, both at once, but for different reasons. Evan's with reluctant acceptance. Lena's with quiet triumph. Neither argued further, at least not aloud. As the bus pulled up to take us back to campus, Evan offered me a nod. Not surrender, not defeat, just a promise that this wasn't over. Lena, meanwhile, slipped into the seat beside me, her hand brushing mine in the quiet way she always did. But I knew the collision wasn't finished. It had only just begun. As the city blurred past outside the bus window, I realized something terrifying. Both of them wanted something from me. Evan wanted me to remember who I used to be. Lena wanted me to embrace who I was becoming. And me? I wasn't sure which scared me more, that I'd have to choose, or that, deep down, I already had. The Boston trip ended, but the confrontation lingered like a shadow. By the time we rolled back into Westford, I could feel the shift in the air. Whispers followed me through the corridors, less cruel than before, but sharper, more direct. People weren't just gossiping anymore. They were asking. And eventually, the institution itself began to ask too. The email arrived 3 days later. Subject, meeting required, identity clarification. The dean's office again. My pulse spiked as I read the lines. In light of recent reports regarding inconsistencies in your registration and presentation, you are requested to attend a meeting to confirm your standing with the university. I stared at the words until they blurred. Reports. That meant someone had spoken. Maybe Mark. Maybe a professor. Maybe even Evan. For the first time, the fear wasn't just about being mocked. It was about being erased. When I told Lena, she slammed her notebook shut. They're testing you, she said, her voice low, dangerous. They want to see if you'll break. If you hesitate, they'll shove you back into Ryan's skin before you can breathe. I don't know if I can face them, I admitted. My hands shook. It's one thing to say it in class, to stand up to Mark. But this is different. This is the dean. The system. Her eyes softened, and she reached out, steadying my trembling hands. Rachel, listen to me. You're not pretending anymore. You're not playing dress up. You're living this. Don't let them take it away. The wood-paneled office felt colder this time. The dean, calm as ever, folded her hands on the desk. Miss Callahan, she began, emphasizing the name deliberately. Or should I say Mr. Callahan? The air froze. My breath caught. This institution respects academic integrity, she continued. But integrity also requires clarity. You cannot remain in this ambiguous position forever. The question is simple. Who are you? For a heartbeat, panic roared in my chest. Every part of me screamed to reach into my pocket, pull out that old voucher, retreat into the safety of Ryan. But then I remembered the train ride, the dinners, the confrontation in class, Evan's cautious respect, Lena's steady hand, the mirror. Slowly, I lifted my chin. I am Rachel Callahan, I said. My voice trembled at first, then grew stronger. I didn't plan this. I didn't ask for it. But I chose it. And I'm not going back. Silence stretched. The dean studied me for what felt like an eternity. Then, at last, she nodded. Very well. Rachel Callahan it is. The records will remain as such. I left the office on unsteady legs, but as soon as the heavy doors shut behind me, a rush of breath left my lungs. Relief. Terror. Triumph. For the first time, the choice wasn't just personal. It was official. The university had acknowledged Rachel, not as a mistake, but as real. And the weight of that truth both thrilled and terrified me. Down the hall, Lena leaned against the wall, waiting. When our eyes met, her grin spread slowly. Well, I swallowed hard, my heart racing. Rachel Callahan, officially. Her laughter filled the hall, warm and proud, and for the first time, I allowed myself to laugh too. But in the back of my mind, a question lingered like a storm cloud. Now that Rachel existed on paper, how long before the world demanded more proof than I was ready to give? The morning after my meeting with the dean, I walked across campus feeling lighter than I ever had before. The air was crisp, the leaves rustled overhead, and the click of my shoes echoed like a rhythm I finally owned. Rachel Callahan wasn't just tolerated anymore. She was acknowledged. But acknowledgement came with a price.